And there are two things in this world I don't tolerate. One is a bolt that strips when you're torquing it down. The other is a liar. A stripped bolt, you can drill out, and you can tap a new thread. You can fix it. But a liar is like rust. You can paint over it, you can sand it down, but underneath, the metal is still rotten. And there is nothing worse than a liar who holds a wrench. See, mechanics are supposed to be like doctors for machines. You trust them. You bring them your baby, and whether it's a bike or a car, and you trust them to stop the bleeding. You trust them to be honest about what's broken. Because most people, they don't know a piston from a spark plug. They just know the car makes a noise and they're scared. And fear is how these rats make their money. And let me tell you about Nana Rose. She's 92. Yeah, you heard me. 92 years young. She's 5 foot nothing, shrinks a little every year, but she's got a spirit that's 10 feet tall. She's the woman who taught me how to wipe grease off my hands with sugar and dish soap. And she's the woman who bandaged my knees when I fell off my first bicycle. And she drives a 1974 Chevy Nova, mint green, white vinyl top. And it was my grandfather's pride and joy. Pops bought it brand new off the lot. When he passed in '98, Nana kept it. She drives it to the grocery store on Tuesdays, and she drives it to bingo on Thursdays. That car isn't just metal to her, it's him. It's the last piece of Pops she has left. She keeps it garaged. She dusts the dashboard, and she talks to it. Last week, the Nova started making a noise. Just a little tick, 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 tick when she idled at a stoplight. Now, if she had called me, I would have told her it was probably just a loose lifter or maybe an exhaust leak, easy fix. And I would have gone over there with my tools and fixed it in her driveway for the price of a plate of biscuits. But Nana Rose is proud. She knows I'm busy with the club, and she knows I'm running the garage, managing the boys, dealing with club politics. She didn't want to bother me, so she opened the phone book, and she found a shop 2 towns over, Precision Auto Care. Sounds professional, right? Sounds trustworthy. The owner is a guy named Stan. I know Stan, and I didn't know he was the one working on her car until it was too late, but I know the type, and Stan is the kind of mechanic who keeps a spray bottle of oil in his pocket so he can squirt it on your engine and tell you you've got a leak. And he's the kind of guy who charges you for premium parts and installs junk from the scrapyard. Nana drove the Nova into his bay. She was nervous, and she was wearing her Sunday hat because she wanted to look respectable. "Mr. Stan," she said, "my car is ticking. My husband, rest his soul, and he always said a ticking engine is a dying engine." Stan saw her coming a mile away. He saw the wrinkles. He saw the cane. He saw the pristine classic car, and then he saw dollar signs. He popped the hood. He made a show of looking around. He hummed and hawed. He shook his head. He looked grave, and like he was delivering a cancer diagnosis. "Mom," he said, wiping his keen hands on a rag. "It's bad. Real bad." "What is it?" Nana asked, clutching her purse. "It's the transmission," Stan lied. "The torque converter is shattering inside the bell housing. If you drive this another mile, the whole thing could explode, and shrapnel everywhere. You could get hurt." He used fear. He told a 92-year-old woman her car was a bomb. Nana started crying. She was terrified, not for herself, but for the car. She thought she had ruined Pop's legacy. "Can you fix it?" "Well," Stan sighed. "Parts for a 74 are hard to find. Rare. And it's gonna be expensive." "How much?" $3,000, Stan said. "And that's the friends and family discount. $3,000. Nana lives on a pension, and she gets a check every month that barely covers the lights and the heat. But she has a savings account, and she's been saving for her own funeral so the family wouldn't have to pay for it." She wrote the check. Stan took it. He smiled. He promised he'd have it done in 2 days, and 2 days passed. Then 3. Then a week. Nana called the shop. "It's more complicated than I thought," Stan told her. "I found rust in the frame. I found bad brakes. And I can't let you drive this safely, Rose. It's against the law for me to release an unsafe vehicle." He was holding the car hostage, and he told her he needed another 2,000. "Or," he said, and this is the part that makes me want to put my fist through a wall, and he said he would do her a favor and buy the car from her for $500, just to take it off her hands. He wanted to steal the car, and he wanted to take a classic Nova worth 20 grand, scam her out of her savings, and then steal the title for peanuts. Nana hung up the phone, and she sat at her kitchen table. She looked at the empty spot in the garage. She felt like she had failed. She felt stupid. That's when she finally called me, and I was at the clubhouse. We were racking up the pool table. Music was playing, life was good. My phone rang. Nana Rose. I picked it up, and expecting to hear her tell me about the weather or ask when I was coming for dinner. "Jax." Her voice was so small, it sounded like she was hiding in a closet. "Nana, and you okay?" Jax, I think I lost the car, she sobbed. The pool hall went silent for me. I held up a hand. The music stopped. What do you mean you lost the car? And did someone steal it? The mechanic, she cried. He says it's broken. He says it's unsafe. He took my funeral money, Jax. He took $3,000. And now he says he won't give it back unless I pay $2,000 more. My blood turned to ice. Then it turned to fire. Who is he? I asked. My voice was low, dangerous. And his name is Stan. Over on 5th Street. Precision Auto? Stan? I repeated. I knew the shop. I knew the sign. He said I'm too old to drive, Jax. He said I broke it. And you didn't break anything, Nana, I said. Listen to me. You stop crying. You wipe those tears. But the money. Forget the money. And I'm gonna get the money. I'm gonna get the car. And I'm gonna get an apology. Jax, don't get in trouble, she pleaded. He's a big man. He was yelling, and he yelled at her. He yelled at my Nana. I hung up the phone. I didn't say goodbye. I couldn't trust my voice not to crack. I looked at Tiny, and I looked at the 40 brothers standing around the room. They saw the look in my eyes. They saw the vein pulsing in my neck. They've seen me mad before, and they've seen me fight. But they've never seen this. This was personal. What's the play, VP? Tiny asked, putting down his cue stick. We got a rat, I said. Mechanic. And scammed my grandmother. Stole her money. Holding her car hostage. The sound in that room changed. It wasn't a party anymore. It was a war room, and chairs scraped against the floor. Jackets were zipped up. Helmets were pulled off the racks. Stan's Auto, Breaker asked. Stan's Auto, I confirmed. And I know the place, Tiny said, cracking his knuckles. He's got a nice glass window in the front. Not for long, I said. I walked to the door, and the sun was shining outside, but for Stan the storm was just about to hit. If you think nobody, and I mean nobody, should ever make a grandmother cry and get away with it, and hit that like button. We are about to go pay Stan a visit he will never forget. He thinks he scammed a helpless old lady. He thinks she's all alone in the world, and he thinks he can bully her because she walks with a cane. He doesn't know who her grandson is. He doesn't know that Nana Rose is the matriarch of the Motor Mafia, and he's about to find out that the only thing more expensive than a transmission repair is disrespecting the family. Mount up, I yelled. 50 engines fired to life, and the ground shook. Stan wanted to talk about broken parts. We were about to go show him what broken really looks like. And there is a specific sound a Harley makes when you're riding in anger. It's not the happy rumble of a Sunday cruise. It's a bark, a snarl, and it sounds like a chainsaw tearing through dry wood. We hit the main drag doing 40, but it felt faster because we were tight. 50 bikes, wheel to wheel, and the chrome was flashing in the sun, but nobody was smiling. We were a solid wall of black leather and bad intentions. I was thinking about Nana Rose, and I was thinking about her small hands holding that phone shaking. I was thinking about her sitting in her kitchen, looking at the empty spot where Pop's car used to be, and feeling like she had failed him. That car, that '74 Nova, it ain't just a car, it's a time machine. It's the last place she can still smell his cologne on the upholstery, and it's the last place she can hear his laugh. And this guy, this greaseball Stan, he wasn't just stealing a car, he was stealing her memories. He was stealing her heart, and he was doing it for a quick buck. We turned onto 5th Street. The shop was up on the left, Precision Auto, big yellow sign. A lot of cars parked out front, and most of them looking like they'd been sitting there for months. Rust on the rotors, dust on the windshields. That's the first sign of a bad mechanic, and the graveyard out front. I saw the Nova. It was parked way in the back, behind a dumpster, like he was hiding it, like he was ashamed of it, or maybe he just wanted to make sure nobody saw it until he could sell it for parts. And seeing that mint green paint covered in shop dust made my grip tighten on the handlebars. My knuckles turned white. I didn't signal to slow down, and I just chopped the throttle. The sudden silence of the lead bike is the signal. Behind me, 49 engines dropped to an idle. The sound went from a roar to a low and menacing grumble, like a sleeping dragon waking up. We rolled into the lot. We didn't park in the spaces. We didn't care about the lines. We filled the driveway, and we blocked the bay doors. We parked on the grass. We parked on the sidewalk. Stan was inside the garage bay. I could see him. He was a big guy, heavy set, and greasy shirt that used to be blue. He was yelling at a kid, probably an apprentice holding a flashlight. He looked mean, and he looked like the kind of guy who kicks a dog because he's having a bad day. He heard the bikes. You couldn't miss it. The ground was vibrating. He turned around, and he wiped his hands on a rag, looking annoyed. He probably thought we were just passing through, making noise. Then he saw us stop. He saw me kick my stand down. Clang. And he saw Tiny kick his stand down. A clang. He saw 48 other stands hit the concrete. It sounded like a prison door slamming shut. Stan walked out of the bay, and he tried to walk tall. He puffed his chest out. He put his hands on his hips. He was trying to mark his territory. And, "Can I help you fellas?" He yelled over the idling engines. "This is private property. You can't park all over the place." I didn't answer him. Not yet. And I took my helmet off. I hung it on the mirror. I took my gloves off, one finger at a time. Slow, deliberate. I walked toward him. My boots crunched on the gravel, and Stan looked at me. Then he looked at Tiny, who was standing next to me, cracking his neck. Then he looked at the sea of bikers behind us. His eyes got a little wide, but he held his ground. He was arrogant. He thought he was the king of his little pile of junk, I said. Stan repeated louder this time. "Can I help you? If you need gas, and the station is 2 blocks down." I stopped about 3 feet from him. I could smell the old oil and the cheap cigarettes on him. "I don't need gas, Stan," I said, and he blinked. "You know my name?" "I know a lot of things," I said. "I know you run a sloppy shop. I know you overcharge for parts. And I know you like to scare old ladies." His face changed. Just a flicker. A little twitch under his left eye. He knew. "And I don't know what you're talking about," he scoffed. "I run a respectable business here. Now, if you ain't got an appointment, you need to leave. I'm busy." And he turned around to walk back into the bay, dismissing me like I was nobody. I reached out and grabbed the back of his greasy work shirt. I didn't yank him, and I just held him, firm, like a vice. "I didn't say we were done," I said. Stan spun around, swatting at my hand. "Don't you touch me! I'll call the cops!" "Go ahead," I said. "Call 'em. Tell 'em you're robbing a 92, yelled Widow. "See how fast they get here." "I ain't robbing nobody," he shouted. "I'm a mechanic, and I fix things." "Is that right?" I asked. I pointed to the back of the lot past the dumpster, to the mint green fender poking out. "That Nova," I said. "The 74. And tell me about it." Stan looked at the car. Then he looked back at me. He tried to put on his professional face. The face he used to lie to Nana Rose, and that old thing. He laughed. It was a nervous laugh. "That's a death trap. Customer brought it in last week. Transmission is shot. Frame is rusted through. And brakes are metal on metal." I told her. I said, "Mom, I can't in good conscience let you drive this. I'm doing her a favor taking it off her hands." "And a favor," I repeated. "Yeah, a favor. I offered her $500 for scrap. It's barely worth that." I looked at him. I looked at the grease under his fingernails. And I looked at the lie sitting right there on his lips. "That car," I said, my voice getting very quiet, "has been garaged for 25 years, and it has 40,000 original miles on it. My grandfather bought it new. And my grandmother. She dusts it every week." Stan froze. His mouth opened a little, but nothing came out. "You told her the transmission was exploding," I said. I took a step closer. "You told her the frame was rusted. You scared her, Stan. And you made her cry." I might have misdiagnosed it," he stammered. "You know, sometimes these old cars, they're tricky. And you took $3,000 from her?" I said. "Her funeral money. And now you want 2,000 more? Or the title?" It's labor costs," he yelled. "His weight? I got hours into that car. Diagnostic time, rack time." "Show me," I said. "What?" "Show me the work," I said. "And you said you did $3,000 worth of work. Show me the new parts. Show me the invoice." He started sweating, and I could see the beads popping out on his forehead. The paperwork is in the office," he said. "I can't just—" "Tiny," I said. "Yeah, boss." "And go get the Nova," I said. "Bring it around front." "You can't do that," Stan screamed. "I have a lion on that vehicle." "You can't take it without paying the bill." And he stepped in front of me, trying to block Tiny. That was a mistake. If you hate liars, if you think a guy who scams a grandmother deserves to lose his business, and hit that like button right now. We are about to expose this fraud for the whole world to see. Tiny just looked down at him. Tiny is 6'7", and Stan is maybe 5'9" on a good day. "Mauve," Tiny said. Stan moved. Tiny walked back to the dumpster. I watched him. I watched Stan sweating. "And if that car starts," I said to Stan, "if it drives around this building without the transmission falling out, you and me are going to have a very serious problem." And Stan wiped his face. "It won't start. It's dead." "I took the starter out," I asked. "Why?" "I thought it was the transmission." And I was checking the flywheel teeth," he lied. We heard a sound from the back of Lana VROM. It was the deep, throaty idle of a Chevy small block engine, and it caught on the first turn. No hesitation, no ticking, just pure American muscle. Stan went pale, like a ghost. Tiny drove the Nova around the building, and it glided over the potholes. The suspension was tight. The engine purred like a kitten drinking cream. He pulled it up right next to my bike. He put it in park. He revved it once. "VROMer. Sounds healthy to me, boss." Tiny yelled out the window. "Transmission shifts like butter." I turned back to Stan, and he was backing away now. backing toward his office door. You tampered with it, I said. You disconnected something or you just lied. Which is it? Look, man, and I don't want any trouble, Stan pleaded. Just take the car. Take it where? Square. I laughed.
Oh no.
We ain't square, and you have $3,000 of my grandmother's money, and you have wasted that afternoon. I spent that money, he cried. I bought parts for other jobs, and I don't have it. Then you better find it, I said. Check the register, check the safe, check your pockets, and because nobody leaves this lot until Nana Rose gets her refund. I looked at the boys. Shut it down, I said. 40 bikers dismounted. They walked into the shop, and they walked into the office. They didn't break anything. They just occupied the space. They sat on the waiting room chairs. They leaned on the counters, and they stood in front of the vending machine. Stan was surrounded. You have 10 minutes, Stan, I said, to find $3,000, or we start looking for it ourselves. He looked at the sea of leather jackets. He looked at the angry faces. He realized his scam was over, and he ran into his office and started tearing through drawers. But here is the thing about bullies like Stan. They don't give up that easy. They always have one more trick and one more lie. While he was in there, I walked over to the Nova. I looked at the engine. It was clean. But then I saw it, a wire, a simple ignition wire, and it had been pulled loose, just enough to keep the car from starting if you didn't know what to look for, and a little spray of fresh oil on the manifold to make it smell like it is burning, smoke and mirrors. I reconnected the wire. I wiped the oil, and Stan came running out of the office. He was holding a stack of cash, wrinkled bills, ones, fives, 20s. This is all I got, he yelled. It's $1,200. That's it. And take it and go. $1,200? I asked. That's not $3,000. It's all I have. Well, I said, looking around his shop, and that's a nice snap-on tool chest you got there. That's got to be worth a few grand. And that lift, that's worth money. You can't take my tools. And I'm not taking them, I said. I'm holding them as collateral, just like you held the car. I turned to Breaker. Load up the tool chest. No, Stan screamed, and he grabbed a tire iron off the wall. The whole yard went silent. He held the tire iron up, shaking. He was threatening a member of the Motor Mafia with a piece of steel. And you get off my property, he screamed. Or I swear to God. I just stared at him. I didn't flinch. Stan, I said softly, put the iron down. And before you make a mistake you can't fix. He hesitated. He looked crazy, desperate. And that's when the police cruiser pulled up. Stan smiled. A wicked, twisted smile. And officer, he screamed, dropping the iron and running toward the cop car. Officer, help! These bikers are robbing me! He thought he was saved. And he didn't know that Officer Miller used to date my sister. And he didn't know that Officer Miller's grandmother played bingo with Nana Rose every Thursday. And this was about to get interesting. You ever see a drowning man try to climb up a waterfall? That was Stan. He ran toward that police cruiser like it was the Holy Grail. And he was waving his arms, screaming, spit flying from his mouth. Officer, thank God! They're animals! They're threatening me! They have weapons! The cruiser door opened, and a boot hit the pavement. Then another. Officer Miller stepped out. He's a big guy. Corn-fed, played linebacker in high school, wears the uniform like it's a second skin, and he adjusted his belt. He adjusted his hat. He looked at the 50 bikers standing in the lot. He looked at me. He didn't reach for his gun. He didn't call for backup. And he just looked disappointed. Stan, Miller said. His voice was calm, boring almost. Stop screaming, you're waking the neighborhood. But look at them. Stan shrieked, and pointing a greasy finger at Tiny. That one threatened to crush me. They're stealing my tools! They're stealing a car! Miller looked at Tiny, and Tiny was leaning against the fender of the Nova, cleaning his fingernails with a toothpick. Tiny winked at the cop. Is that true, Jax? Miller asked, looking at me. And, you boys stealing cars today? No, sir, I said. I walked over, keeping my hands visible. Respect the badge, always. Unless the badge is dirty. Miller wasn't dirty, and we're just conducting a customer satisfaction survey. Miller suppressed a smile. I see. And how is the customer? Not happy, I said. And Stan here told a 92-year-old lady her transmission was exploding, charged her $3 grand. Held the car hostage for 2 more. Miller's face hardened, and he turned to Stan. Who's the customer, Stan? Stan was sweating buckets now. He realized Miller wasn't instantly arresting us. It's just some old lady, Rose. And Rose something. Look, it's a civil matter. They can't just barge in here. Roz, Miller asked. He took off his sunglasses. You mean Rose with the 74 Nova and mint green? Yeah, Stan said, confused. You know her? Stan, Miller said, shaking his head. My grandmother plays bingo with Rose every Thursday, and Rose brings the lemon squares. Everyone loves Rose. Stan went pale. He looked from the cop to the bikers. He realized he was surrounded by people who loved this woman. And I didn't know, Stan whispered. You didn't know she had people. I corrected him. You thought she was weak. You thought she was alone. I walked over to the Nova, and I popped the hood again. Officer Miller, I said, come take a look at this exploding transmission. Miller walked over. He peered into the engine bay, and, see that ignition wire, I pointed, pulled loose. And see that fresh oil on the manifold, squirts right there. Made it smoke, made it smell like burning. And Miller is a car guy. He drives a Mustang. He knows what he's looking at. That's sabotage, Miller said. The word hung in the air like smoke. That's fraud, Stan. And grand theft, actually, considering the amount. Stan started backing up. It must have been my new guy, the apprentice. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I'll fire him? Don't blame the kid, I snapped. You wrote the invoice. You took the check. Miller turned to Stan. He put his hand on his handcuffs, but he didn't pull them out yet. He looked at me. Jax, Miller said. If I arrest him now, he goes to booking. He gets a lawyer. It takes months. Maybe he pleads down. And I know, I said. What do you want to do? Miller asked. It was a professional courtesy. Cop to biker. He knew the law couldn't fix the heartbreak Stan caused, and he knew Nana Rose didn't want a court case. She wanted her dignity back. I want her money, I said. Every dime. And I want the car. Miller nodded, and he turned his back to Stan. He looked at the sky. I'm gonna go check my radio, Miller said loudly. Might take me about 10 minutes to call this in, and whatever happens in those 10 minutes, well, I ain't watching. He walked back to his cruiser and sat inside. He didn't turn the lights on. Stan looked at the cop car, and he looked at me. He realized his safety net just walked away. You heard the man, I said to Stan. 10 minutes? I told you? Stan cried, and clutching the wad of cash in his hand. I only have $1,200. Then you better start making phone calls, I said. Call your wife. Call your bookie. I don't care. And get the money? Teeny, I said. Load the tool chest. No, Stan screamed. He ran over and tried to block Tiny again. Tiny just picked him up, literally, and grabbed him by the back of his belt and his collar and hoisted him into the air like a bag of mulch. Stan's legs were kicking. Put me down. Where do you want him? Foss Tiny asked. Put him in the trunk, I said, since he says the car is so safe. No trunk, Stan squealed. Okay, I have a stash. And I have a stash in the floor safe. Put him down, I said. Tiny dropped him. Stein hit the ground hard. He scrambled up covered in dust. He ran into the office, and we all followed him. He pulled up a loose floor tile under his desk. There was a safe. He spun the dial. His hands were shaking so bad it took him 3 tries. Click, and he opened it. It was full of envelopes, cash, skimmed off the top. Tax-free. Count it, I said. He started counting. 1,000, 2,000, 3, and keep going, I said. But the bill was only 3. That was the repair bill, I said. Now we're talking about the emotional distress fee. You made her cry, Stan, and tears are expensive. He looked at me. He saw no mercy. 4,000, 1,000. He stopped at 5. That's it, he said. That's everything I have. And I took the stack of cash. I counted it myself. $5,000. This covers the 3 she paid you, I said. And the $2,000 is for the stress. And for the fact that I had to burn gas to get here. I shoved the money into my vest pocket. Now, I said, the car. Take it, Stan said, defeated. Just take it, and we are, I said. But we ain't just taking it. You're gonna fix it first. It's not broken. You said the brakes were metal on metal, I said. And you put that on the diagnostic sheet. If I drive out of here and the brakes squeak, I'm gonna come back. And next time, I won't bring the nice guys. They are fine. I lied about the brakes. I know you did, I said. But you're gonna check them anyway. Right now, while we watch. I can't work like this. And with everyone watching. You'll manage, I said. I walked out to the bay. Boys, Stan is gonna put on a demonstration. And he's gonna show us how a master mechanic checks a brake caliper. The boys cheered. It was a dark, mocking sound. Stan dragged his jack out. He jacked up the Nova. And he took the wheels off. He checked the pads. They were thick. Plenty of life left. They're good, he mumbled. Check the oil, I ordered. He checked the oil. And checked the fluids. He checked the fluids. He wiped the windshield. For 20 minutes, we made him perform a full service. And we made him check every nut and bolt. We made him crawl under the car on his belly. When he was done, he was covered in grease and sweat. And he looked like he'd run a marathon. Is it done? He panted. One last thing, I said. I pulled a piece of paper out of my pocket. And it was a blank invoice I grabbed from his desk. Write a receipt, I said. For what? For a full inspection and service, I said. Cost $0. Warranty. And lifetime. He stared at me. Lifetime. If this car ever makes a noise, I said. If a bulb, if a tire goes flat, you are gonna fix it. For free. And for as long as Nana Rose is drawing breath. He picked up the pen. He wrote it out. Lifetime warranty. He signed it. I took the paper. I folded it next to the cash. And, you got off lucky, Stan, I said. Officer Miller was going to take you to jail. I just took your pride. I walked out to the cruiser, and Miller was sleeping in the front seat. I tapped on the glass. He rolled it down. "We're good?" Miller asked. "We're good," I said. "Customer got a refund and a warranty, and glad to hear it," Miller said. "Stan looks like he learned a valuable lesson about market forces." "I think he did," I said. I walked back to the Nova, and Tiny was sitting in the driver's seat grinning. "You drive the car to Nana's," I told Tiny. "I'll ride your bike. She'll get a kick out of seeing you." "You got it, and boss," Tiny said. I looked at Stan one last time. He was sitting on the floor of his garage, head in his hands, surrounded by his wealth that didn't save him. "And, Stan," I called out. He looked up. "If I ever see you near a senior center," I said. "If I ever hear you scammed another retiree, the warranty expires. Understand?" And he nodded fast. "Good." I climbed onto Tiny's bike. It was a beast. Custom bars, loud pipes. "Let's go home, boys," I yelled. We rolled out of the lot, and we left Stan alone in the quiet of his empty shop. He had his tools. He had his freedom. But he knew, and we knew, that he was owned. We rode back to Nana's house, and the sun was setting now, painting the sky purple. I had $5,000 in my pocket and a mint green Nova in the convoy. But the job wasn't done yet, and we still had to deliver the good news. And Nana Rose. She had no idea her army was coming home victorious. You know, there's a difference between noise and music, and to a suburban neighborhood at 60 p.m. on a Tuesday, 50 motorcycles might sound like noise. But to Nana Rose, that sound is a symphony, and it's the sound of her boys coming home. We rolled onto Elm Street. It's a quiet street, manicured lawns, big oak trees, and the kind of place where people walk their golden retrievers and wave at the mailman. When the Motor Mafia rolls through, the sprinklers seem to pause. Curtains twitch, and people step out onto their porches, coffee cups in hand, wondering if there's a parade or an invasion. I was riding Tiny's chopper. It's a beast. 8 hanger bars, and a seat that's barely there, and an engine that rattles your fillings. Behind me, Tiny was driving the Nova. He looked hilarious in there, and his shoulders were so wide he was practically taking up both front seats, and his head was brushing the headliner. But he was driving it like it was made of glass, and 2 hands on the wheel, 10 and 2. We pulled up to Nana's house. The driveway is long, paved with white concrete. She was sitting on the porch swing, and she was wearing her pink cardigan, the one with the pearl buttons. She had a tissue in her hand. She looked small, defeated, and she probably thought we were coming back to tell her the bad news. She probably thought the car was gone for good. I killed the engine, and the silence rippled back through the pack as 49 other bikes cut their notors. Then Tiny revved the Nova. VROM, purr, purr, purr. And he blipped the throttle one last time, letting that American V8 sing its song, before shutting it off. Nana stood up. She dropped the tissue. Her hands flew to her mouth, and Tiny opened the driver's door. He unfolded himself out of the car. He adjusted his leather vest, walked around to the front, and patted the hood. "She runs good." "And Nana," Tiny boomed. His voice carries like a foghorn, but when he talks to her, it's soft, real good. "Stops on a dime." I walked up the porch steps, and my boots were heavy on the wood. "Jax," she whispered. Is that my car?" "It's your car, Nana," I said. "Safe and sound." But Stan said, and he said the transmission was exploding. He said it was dangerous. "Stan, it was mistaken," I said. I didn't want to tell her he was a lying thief, and it hurts her heart to know people are bad. "Well," corrected him. He took a look. "Turns out, it was just a loose wire. He fixed it, free of charge." "And free." She blinked, her watery blue eyes going wide. "But he wanted $3,000 just to release it." "He changed his mind," I said, "and he realized he made an error in judgment." I reached into my vest pocket. I pulled out the thick envelope. The $5,000. I took her hand, and her skin is so soft like paper. My hand is calloused, stained with oil and ink. I pressed the envelope into her palm. "What is this?" she asked. "And that's your refund," I said. $3,000 for the repair he didn't do." "This feels like more than $3,000, she said, squeezing the thick stack. "And, well," I smiled. He felt bad about the mix-up, so he threw in a little extra for your trouble. He called it a customer loyalty bonus, and tears spilled over her cheeks again. But this time they weren't sad tears. They were relief, pure, washing relief. "Oh my goodness," she sniffled. I can't believe it. And I thought I lost Pop's car. I thought I was going to have to stop driving." "You drive as long as you want, Nana," I said. "And if that car ever makes a noise, and if it even hiccups, you don't call Stan. You call me, or you call Tiny. We got a lifetime warranty on it now." Tiny walked up the steps. He took off his helmet, and he looked like a giant bear approaching a butterfly. "Hi, Nana?" "He grinny," she cried. She reached up. He bent way down so she could hug his neck, and she kissed his cheek, right over his beard. "You drove my car? You didn't scratch it, did you?" "No, Mom." Tani laughed. "I treated her like a lady," and she pulled back and looked at the yard. 50 bikers, standing by their machines, waiting. "And you brought the boys," she exclaimed. "Oh, Lord, I don't have enough biscuits. I only made 2 dozen. 2 dozen is plenty," Nana Breaker yelled from the back. "We'll share." "Nonsense," she said, and her energy suddenly coming back. The sadness was gone. She was the matriarch again. "You wait right here. I have a ham in the freezer. I have pickles. I have iced tea. Jax, and you come help me in the kitchen." I looked at the guys. They were all grinning. Big, tough men who would fight a grizzly bear for a nickel, and standing there smiling because a 92-year-old woman offered them ham and pickles. "You heard her," I said to the pack. "Park him. We're having a picnic." And I followed Nana into the house. It smelled like lavender and old wood. It smelled like safety. And she walked to the kitchen counter and put the envelope of money in the cookie jar. Then she turned to me. She put her hands on my face. "You did something bad, and didn't you?" she asked. She knows me. She knows I don't get $5,000 back by asking nicely. "I didn't hurt him, Nana, I promised. I just persuaded him. And we had a conversation about respect." "Is he gonna bother any other old ladies?" she asked sharply. "No, Mom," I said. "And I don't think Stan is going to be bothering anyone for a long, long time." We came to an understanding. She looked at me for a long second, searching my eyes, and then she patted my cheek. "Good," she said. "Now get the mayonnaise. Tiny looks hungry." We spent the next 2 hours in that driveway. Imagine this: the sun going down and turning the sky orange and purple. A mint green 1974 Nova shining in the twilight. And 50 bikers sitting on the grass, eating ham sandwiches on white bread, and drinking sweet tea from mason jars. Nana Rose walked around to every single one of them. She asked about their kids. She asked about their bikes. And she told them to wear their jackets because it was getting chilly. She wasn't lonely. She was the queen. And for us, we weren't outlaws, and we weren't trouble. We were just grandsons. I sat on the porch rail watching them. I saw Tiny showing Nana a picture of his new puppy on his phone, and I saw Breaker fixing a loose hinge on her screen door because he noticed it squeaking. This is what people don't understand about us. They see the leather, and they hear the noise. They think, gang. But a gang takes, a family gives, and sitting there, watching my grandmother laugh for the first time in weeks, I knew we did good. But the night wasn't over. I had one last thing to say to the boys, and one last message for anyone out there who thinks they can prey on the weak. It got dark, and the fireflies started coming out, blinking in the bushes around the porch. The streetlights flickered on, buzzing orange. It was time to go. We can't stay forever, and we got homes to go to. We got jobs in the morning. Tiny stood up from the grass. He brushed the crumbs off his lap. He walked over to Nana Rose. He took her hand, and that tiny fragile hand, and he kissed it, like a knight in one of those old movies. "Thank you for the ham, Nana," Tiny said. "Best sandwich I had in years. And you come back anytime, Tunny," she said, beaming. "Next time, I'll make the biscuits, I promise. I'm holding you to that." He winked, one by one, and the boys said their goodbyes. "Thanks, Nana." "Good night, drive safe, Mrs. Rose." They mounted up, and the sound of 50 engines starting in the dark is different than in the day. It's aggressive. At night, it's a lullaby. A deep and heavy rhythm that says everything is okay. I stayed on the porch for a minute after they started rolling. Just me and her. The Nova was parked in the garage now. Safe and dry. I helped her pull the door down myself. Stan wasn't going to touch it again. Nobody was. "Jax," she said softly. "Yeah, Nana, you're a good boy." I laughed, and a rough sound in my throat. "I'm the VP of a motorcycle club, Nana. I got a rap sheet. I got scars. I ain't exactly a choir boy." She looked at me, and her eyes were sharp in the porch light. "I didn't say you were a choir boy," she said. "I said you were good. There's a difference. A choir boy follows the rules, and a good man knows when to break them to do what's right." That hit me, right in the chest. I stand. She hesitated. "He was scary, Jax. When he yelled at me, and I felt so small. I felt like I didn't matter anymore. Like I was just waste." I put my arm around her shoulders. I pulled her in tight, and she smelled like lavender and strength. "You ain't waste, Nana," I whispered. "You're the reason we're here. You built this family. You held it together when Pops died, and you matter more than any of us." "I'm just an old lady with a squeaky car," she chuckled, wiping a tear. I said, "You're the queen, and don't you ever forget it." And I kissed her forehead. It was cool and dry. "Lock the door behind me," I said, "and put the chain on." "I will." I walked down the steps. I threw a leg over my bike, and I looked back one last time. She was standing in the doorway, waving. The light from the hall framed her like a halo. I fired up the engine. I revved it twice. A salute, and I rolled out of the driveway and onto the dark street. The pack was waiting for me at the corner, taillights glowing red in the mist. As we rode home, and slicing through the cool night air, I started thinking. The world is full of stands. They're in every town. They wear suits. They wear uniforms. And they smile and shake your hand while they pick your pocket. They look at someone like Nana Rose and they don't see a person. They see a target. They see an easy mark. And they think because she walks slow, she can't fight back. They think because her voice is quiet, she won't be heard. But they're wrong. Because she has us. And we aren't just bikers. We aren't just guys who like loud pipes and fast machines. We are the wall. We are the line in the sand that says enough, and we live by a code that's older than the laws Stan tried to hide behind. Respect your elders. Protect the weak. And never, ever let a bully win. And it shouldn't have to be this way. You shouldn't need a motorcycle gang to get a mechanic to do his job honest. And you shouldn't need 50 guys to get a bus driver to open a door. But until the world changes, until people start acting right, we'll be here. Checking the perimeters and watching the neighborhoods. Listening for the phone call. So, here is my question to you. Do you believe that honor still matters? And do you believe that a grandmother's tears are worth fighting for? We are building something here. A movement. A family. We don't care where you come from, and we don't care what you drive. We care about what's in your heart. VARs, if you want to be part of the solution, and if you want to stand with the Motor Mafia and protect the ones who can't protect themselves, smash that subscribe button right now. Join the ranks, and let's make sure that every Nana Rose out there knows she's never truly alone. I'm gonna go home now. I got grease on my hands and my back hurts, but I'm gonna sleep like a baby tonight. Because I know the Nova is safe. I know Nana is smiling. And I know Stan is somewhere out there, looking over his shoulder and remembering the day he messed with the wrong family. Be good to each other. Watch out for the old folks. And keep the rubber side down. This is Jax, signing off.